Currently, I can't even see. I took off my glasses. 11:45. Um, I'm gonna go to sleep probably around half past midnight. I had one midterm today. Um, and then after the midterm, came home, didn't eat. I did my workout first, and then I ate. Um, it was supposed to be endurance based, but I ended up doing like bag work instead. It was really goofy how I had the bag set up. It's like just up against a couch downstairs because I don't know how to hang it up yet. I'll figure that out sometime soon though. Then I did some bag work. I skipped for a little bit. I learned a new skill on the jump rope. It was cool, like the little boxer skip that they do. It's not like the one that is kind of like just back and forth, but it's like you kind of like kick your leg out and like you bring it back, kick your leg out. So I learned that today. That was fun to do. It's always so gratifying to learn something new, right? When you've struggled with it in the past, because I've tried to do that with like while actually jump roping, like at least 4 or 5 times before, and I'd always be messing it up like so easily. Even though like whenever I would do it without the jump rope, and I'd just be like simulating it and just like bouncing up and down like an idiot, kind of looking pretty goofy without the jump rope, making the jump rope motion. But I'd practicing it, and I'd be like, oh, this is like the footwork isn't even that bad. It's just I can't get the rhythm down. Finally got the rhythm down today, and it's like all I had to do. I guarantee you, all I had to do for those first 4 or 5 times that I failed was stick with it for another maybe 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes. For skipping, that's kind of a lot because it is, it's a pretty difficult, like, endurance-based workout. But even just, like, starting and stopping for another 5 or 10 minutes, I would have got it done. And today, that's what I did. Today, I was like, okay, let me learn the skill. It's, like, good for footwork and rhythm, and it's going to be, like, at least a little bit more, like, mind stimulating because when you skip, it's very it's just boring at a certain point if you don't start throwing in new tricks. So I was like, okay, let me learn this new trick. It's gonna only help me in the end. So I did. I stuck it out for another 5-10 minutes. I made myself look dumb, even though obviously no one was watching. But in my mind, there always is somebody watching for some reason. Is it a good or bad thing? I'm not sure yet. I haven't had enough experience to know if that's good or bad, but hey, we'll live with it. So I practiced it for a little bit more, then it ended up being perfectly fine, and I was able to do it pretty consistently right after that. Then tomorrow, when I warm up for my run in the morning, I'll just do that as a warm up, and then I'll just progressively get better in that. Once I know that I'm very good at that skill, I'll introduce a new one, do the same thing. It's like, I feel like that's a good analogy for life in general, where it's like, yeah, those new skills that you want to learn, the new things that you want to apply to yourself, it's going to take a little bit, and it's going to take a little bit for them to stick. And if you continuously find new things to try to implement and get frustrated and start quitting them, or you just quit them in general when they're hard in the beginning, like you can't expect yourself to be good at something right as you begin to try and learn it. That's the difficulty with learning completely new content in school, where it's like, oh, this is completely fresh to me. It's not like, oh, I learned a little bit of math before, this introduction to harder math. Okay, I can kind of do that because I have a little bit of a foundation. But when you learn completely new concepts that are detached from any sort of learning that you've done in the past, all of a sudden now it's a completely different story where it's like, oh man, I really can't learn that. You have to realize that you're not going to be good at it first, and you have to be willing to suck at it for sometimes a really long time. Sometimes it'll click like that, after, a little bit of resistance, a couple days, a couple minutes, it depends on whatever you're learning. Sometimes you're going to have years of resistance where you don't feel like you're ever getting good at it. Sometimes you'll never feel like you're good at it. You'll definitely be improving, and other people might tell you, but you inside, you might never feel like you fully got to the point that you wanted to get to with that skill or with whatever you learned. So that's just one thing that I've been telling myself, that I know I've needed to tell myself. Yeah, that was one part of my day that I wanted to talk about. Other than that, still midterm week, still studying, as you can tell. I'm tired. Got off a call with my brother tonight, and he's very excited for me to be going on this sort of on this beginning. I want to call it beginning. I don't know why. It seems more poetic, and I'm a poetic kind of guy, so I want to call it a beginning. I'm on this beginning towards a newer version of myself, and he's very excited for that. And we're gonna try to hold each other accountable. And I told him this, and I think it's something important, where it's like a lot of people, when they get into the space, they are lonely most of the time. They begin lonely, and that's one of the main reasons that they're in the space, is they're trying to find others that share that same sort of passion towards bettering themselves. And for me, I'm very lucky to have always had my little brother. And even though he was kind of on this sort of timing right before me, it's still like, that bond that we share, that we've always shared, is important. And so now we can kind of like build off each other, like play off each other. And the progress that we both make is only going to increase that much because we have somebody else to keep us accountable. Even though I'm doing these videos, and even though I have, I have a tracker, like, displayed in the house, like, that's that little extra bit of accountability is what I really need, because I've always struggled with that. And now I feel like it's all kind of coming together, and it's like, now you have that system in place. You have your little journals, and, you have everything structured in a way where it's like, all you gotta do is fill in the gaps. And those gaps are simply the tasks that you gotta do throughout the day. That's it. And that's all you gotta do. There's no feeling of being lost. Now I can see clearly. I can see clearly now, like that song says. And there's no reason for me to fall off the path, because the path is very, very structured now, and it's very clearly set in place, where every single step for me is laid out. All I gotta do is follow those steps. I've been trying not to yawn this entire time. I'm very sleepy, but we're gonna study for a little bit more, go to sleep, early morning, wake up, get a little run, study a little bit more before I gotta go to the hospital. We got a lot of different things going on tomorrow, but that's just what we gotta do. Yeah, that's it for this first night. And then I'll see y'all tomorrow night, or if I have another thing that I want to talk about in the car. It really depends. Like, I might just start uploading just really frequently, just for no reason, and I like that. So yeah, that's all I've got for now.